To our friends that are live on the webcast as well. So this is being broadcast live as well, and we've got a community watching us, so hello everybody. Also, the slides and the recording of the webinar will be available to everybody after the event as well. So you can look at, again, you can watch the video of what's happened today or look at the presentations, etc. I'm Rob Furlong, I'm not Simon, my colleague Simon is just here. I'm just going to go through a few of the health and safety things that we have to do. There's no fire alarm today, so if there is a fire alarm, just follow me, I'll be out of here like a shot. So down the stairs and out, follow the signs, etc., but that's unlikely to happen. And obviously, if you could put your phones on silent, that'll be most appreciated. Of course, we understand that business goes on. If you have to take a call, you're more than welcome just to leave at any time and take that call as well. So we've got a packed agenda for this morning and plenty of time for networking during lunch and this afternoon as well. And for those that are on the webinar, there's the opportunity for you to chat and ask questions, and I will moderate those questions for you and ask those questions at 12:20 on your behalf in the Q&A session as well. So if you have any questions on the webinar, please do just type them in the chat box and I will take those on board for you. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Simon, who's going to give an introduction. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Rob. So I'm just going to give you a very quick introduction to the KTN. I'll only be a few minutes. I look after low emission mobility at the KTN. I work across all transport modes. And that's something we see is increasingly important, particularly as all transport modes are looking to go more zero emission. Rob has been through the agenda roughly, so we're going to finish at 1 o'clock for lunch, and followed by an opportunity for everyone to get together, understand whether you can potentially partner. We're going to go through the scope and the competition, and there's obviously going to be the questions, and there's going to be some great elevator pitches as well today to get some ideas flowing and see whether they might be suitable for your partnerships. So the KTN, we drive innovation in the UK. We do this we've got sector experts. We also have a range of different sectors, and that's what's quite novel about us, because we can actually look at, say agriculture and digital economy and put those two together and create something new and add real value. And our primary goal is to provide economic and societal impact. We have a wide network, over 140,000 contacts across all those different sectors. And if you need to build that consortia, that's something where we can help. We can introduce you to the right people. We have the transport team at the KTN, that's one of the core sectors. And we work across all different modes. So Rob looks after intelligent systems and mobility. I look after low emission mobility, and then we've got the individual ones like rail and marine and aviation. And connected on autonomous vehicles also feeds into that landscape. So we bring all that knowledge together. And I think going forward, that's going to be more and more crucial to support the UK to go to where we really want to go to. We also offer help with grant applications. We can't write them, but we can offer advice. You can send them to us for review. As I said, if you're missing partnerships, we can help that as well. If you need a battery manufacturer to be part of your consortium, I could provide you some that might be suitable, for instance, as an example. So please get in contact if that would be something you're looking for. And we also provide that cross-sectoral impact and knowledge. So that's it from me. So I'm going to now pass you on to Tommy Edgar from the ATI to introduce a bit more about what they do.
Thank you very much, Simon. All right, excuse me, I'm a bit flustered. I've come off the back of the Surrey train strike, so this will give you a good problem statement to solve with your aerospace technologies. I'm Tommy Edgar, so I'm the Strategic Portfolio Manager. I'm just going to introduce what the ATI is. This call that you're all here for is part of the ATI programme, which is a tripartite organisation between Innovate UK, BEIS and ATI. I'll leave Alfred to do Innovate UK, but I'll just do us. There we go. So we've recently had a strategy revamp. You might have noticed at our conference last week, we launched Accelerating Ambition, which is our new strategy. But basically, our mandate is to lead the technology in air transport. We've been going almost 5 years now. We were formed by government and industry on an equal partnership basis, on a 50-50 basis. And basically, we provide the leadership for the UK's aerospace technology community. As I said, we define the aerospace technology strategy, so the new one is Accelerating Ambition. That is available on our website. Please have a read. But we are currently leading the development of an R&D portfolio worth £3.9 billion. So it's a big investment by both industry and government. It shows a real commitment to what you guys are trying to do, and we really want to help. And we're basically just trying to find the next innovation, the next technological innovation to really establish the UK economy on the world stage. Bit of delay. Okay, sorry, it's all the animations there you go. It's all the same old stuff, it's the greener aerospace, competitive aerospace, growing the high value skills in the UK economy, positioning us for a growing global market, and capturing and producing that high value content, really kind of cementing it within the UK. So these are correct as of October. So we've awarded, through the ATI programme, £1.3 billion worth of funding. Obviously, it's a 50-50 programme, so 50% of that comes from industry, which makes it a £2.6 billion programme. Our cap is 3.9, so we've still got a way to go. So if you've got good technologies, we are more than happy to fund them if they're appropriate. We're currently funding 260 projects across the various value streams and the key enablers that our strategy defines. 153 of those are live. That's part of Alfred's job, keeping them kind of ticking over. But we're basically forecast to produce 65,000 jobs from those 260 projects. So again, large amount of jobs. Got 260 unique partners. 146 of those are SMEs. £59 million worth of that funding figure has gone to SMEs. The figures at the bottom are for the strategic programme, so not this collaborative R&D, smaller business stuff, but on average we fund it's £5.1 million on the strategic programme, so they're kind of the big programmes. And obviously a lot of the projects involve lots of partners, lots of primes, tier ones, SMEs, academia, RTOs. As long as the makeup is right, we're willing to fund it. This is a breakdown of the innovation funding landscape from the ATI point of view. So this is the ATI programme in a nutshell. This is my bag really, the ATI strategic programme. This is the large programmes. This is the really kind of big strategic things for the UK. This is open to anyone. It's typically aimed at the larger strategic programmes, but obviously please, if you want to apply, please apply, talk to us. But this is open on a rolling basis. There's an expression of interest stage 1 that's opened every single month. That's second week of the month, always opens, and then the stage 2 is on a quarterly basis. So this is the drumbeat going on. That's for TRL 3 to 6. Project duration average 3 years. Average size is 5.1 million, so they are slightly larger. What you're all here for is this one here. It's the R&D funding for smaller businesses. This is coming from a pot of up to £20 million that was awarded by BEIS last year through the ATI programme. The 2019 call grant was for £8 million. We're aiming for grant asks of between £250,000 and £750,000 with a project duration between 1 and 3 years. This call is open as of the 25th, so that was last week. It closes on the 23rd of January. Don't leave it to the last minute. There's always a stumbling block. There's always something you need to ask a question about. Don't leave it to the last minute. Then we've got NATEP. NATEP is the smallest businesses to the smaller business programme. This is capped at £125,000 grant per project. The beauty of the NATEP is that it offers a form of mentoring at the same time for business. So if you're a first time to R&D, if you're new to this kind of innovation game, then actually it's a really, really good way to get introduced into the sector. NATEP 3 is their 6 monthly calls. There was one that's recently closed, or closing on the 4th of December. So probably not enough time to turn one around, but there will be another call next year, so just keep an eye out for that one. There's something we've started doing recently is the international bilaterals. So the most recent one was a UK-Sweden bilateral, funded using the Eureka mechanism. Yeah, this is a joint funded programme between the UK government and the Swedish government with our colleagues in Sweden. 2.25 million total grant, so quite a small call, but it was kind of proving the mechanism. So I've been told to use the microphone. Really, really good way to kind of introduce our industry to the Swedish academia and the Swedish academics to our industry. So it was, really useful. We're working on the next iteration of that call and subsequent bilaterals internationally with various countries. I won't go into too much detail because they're not confirmed yet, but they are in the pipeline, and they should be really interesting. And then that leaves us with the ATI Boeing Accelerator with contributions from GKA and Aerospace. So this is the latest thing that the ATI has launched. Really powerful. It introduces those. It was based on Industry 4 technology startups, but it introduces the startups to Boeing and GKN and the access to the companies produce. The calls at the first tranche has just completed, so they've been selected now. But there will be another one next year, and you will see the case studies coming out of this and some really, really good stuff coming through there. So it's really, really good to see. So we not only provide the strategic leadership for the ATI programme, we are a bit of a think tank for the government, so we produce various documentation publications to aid the thinking and to hopefully add to the thinking of industry. Our latest strategy, Accelerating Ambition, this is drawing on from Raising Ambition, which was our old strategy. Slightly simplified, I've covered it on the next slide, but kind of it defines the value streams that you guys should be aiming for to develop the UK aerospace sector. We have a market outlook that we've got a refresh coming soon. Really good, a lot of work goes into these things. We do all the legwork, so we can define your markets for you. So please feel free to use the data that we supply in those. We've got various white papers on sustainability and also insight papers. So we pick an overarching theme, be it connected systems, single pilot, that kind of stuff. We do a lot of background work into that and hopefully give some quite profound conclusions. But obviously that's up to you guys to decide. So this is a summary of what Accelerating Ambition is. It basically covers 5 value streams. This is what all of our competitions moving forward are going to be defined by. So you have to show alignment to this strategy and to these buckets. They're deliberately slightly vague because we don't want to discourage that disruptive innovation. But we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. This is our line. So we've got 5 buckets: vehicles, propulsion and power, systems, aerostructures, cross-cutting enablers. Vehicles is to facilitate that whole aircraft functionality, that whole aircraft design. We need to ensure that we're being the key player in the delivery of any future sustainable, hopefully, commercial aircraft. Propulsion and power is we've got big strategic programs for the UHBR turbofan engines. Obviously, that is going to continue, and the supply chains associated with those projects is a very important thing. We're also very keen to explore the hybridization and the electrification of aircrafts and aircraft systems. Systems is the next generation of systems and equipment. It's the smart connectivity, the autonomous systems for efficiency and safety. Aerostructures, it's cementing the world-class capability that we already have in integrated structures and building on that. It's aimed at multifunctional structures. This could be additive manufacturing. It could be, Industry 4.0, different ways of manufacturing these structures this is very all-encompassing. There's a lot there to work with. And then obviously you've got the cross-cutting enablers. So this is the high-value design, through-life engineering, advanced materials manufacturing and assembly. So we've tried to condense the industry and what we believe is the next steps for the section in the UK onto that slide. Obviously, there's a lot more detail in the strategy, so please download it from our website, have a look. Some really kind of good pointers to kind of work on, but the crucial bit is all of your applications to any ATI program stream has to be appropriate to this. So obviously we're pushing into the more kind of disruptive innovation side, and we're trying to, there's a bit of that missing middle. We're also trying to address the front end of the funding to less established business enterprises to make it slightly more accessible. We've got the Boeing Horizon X Accelerator. I kind of touched on it earlier, but this was for the first tranche. We were specifically looking for software technology startups, post-revenue startups. We didn't care about the industry. Obviously, if it had an aerospace flavour or an aerospace contribution, it was very good. Massive response to this. I think we had 300 applications for five spaces. So it was, really, really powerful stuff. The next one will be opening September next year, I believe. So do keep an eye out for that. We're pushing this quite hard because it's a big game changer, especially for the aerospace sector. See, I've got fat fingers with the buttons are slow. All right, let's try to do it like that. Sorry, bear with me. Right, Aeroguru. This is something that this is kind of the slightly more pastoral side that we've kind of provide. It's something that we launched recently. We've had a few iterations of this now. It's focused on helping startups and early stage enterprises solve their biggest problems and to test their solutions against a panel of industry experts. We've had some really good senior guys on the panel. If you've got those niggling business issues, those technology, you're not sure what technology direction, this is a really good place to do that. There is an application process associated with this, and they're held in London. We will kind of push it out more regionally, and obviously it's on a monthly basis, but it's a really good way to kind of have access to the industry that you might not have access as a smaller company. There's an email address, so send an email to that. We've got a dedicated person who runs this, so she's very nice as well. So it'll be a good interaction. Things aren't working. Right. Finally, engagement with ATI very much along the theme of the KTN. We're here to help you. If we don't know about you, we can't help you. We've got there's a lot that we produce academically. We produce a lot of insight papers, white papers, publications. They're all there to aid your thought processes. We've got various social media. Sign up to our newsletter as well. That's always very helpful. Gives you the latest dates going on. But crucially, I'm in charge of this email address. Basically, if you've got an idea, you're not sure whether it's right for the ATI program or something similar, just send me an email. I will respond to you as soon as I can, and I will put you in touch with the people you need to be talking to. The ATI has drawn the best from all of the industry to be our technology team. If they don't know what you're talking about, then it's probably not worth pursuing. But these guys are the ones you should be talking to. Send an email to me. I'll put you in touch with them. We can make that. I like to call it a dating service. If you needs a contact in a prime and you've got a good idea, we can help you with that. If you need to talk to a tier one or someone in an RTA or get access to a catapult, come to the ATI. We can help. That is me. That's the ATI. I'll be around if you've got questions. I'm sure you do.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Tommy. Very interesting there. And Tommy's going to be here for the rest of the day as well. So if you do have any questions, we do have a question and answer session for Tommy as well. And those that are online, if you have a question as well, please type them into the chat box and I'll ask Tommy those as well. But I think for me, my key takeaway from this is that you've got an exciting landscape coming up with there. You've got your strategy accelerating the innovation in the aerospace sector. And what we need is more companies from outside the sector to come in, bring their capabilities in to really start to look look at this. And you have funding as well, so let's see if we can get more companies in to do this cross-transfer of technology. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Alfred and Isobel to come up and talk about Innovate UK and the competition scope. We're just going to change the doofer because it's, if not, just use the arrow key. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Alfred, and I'm the Innovation Lead for Aerospace Technology in Innovate UK. So, I'm sure you're here all about today is to want to know about the application process of the ATI program. So, R&D funding for smaller businesses. So, the ATI program, as Tommy mentioned earlier, is a joint partnership between BEIS, ATI, and Innovate UK. So, BEIS provide the funding, and ATI provide the strategy thinking, and Innovate UK will be doing the assessment process and the competition process, and also the managing of the project. So it's a bit boring stuff, but well, we're here to do that. Next question. Right, so that's me, and then we've got Izzy there. She's the portfolio manager, so she runs the IFS system, which we'll be applying into. So just a bit about Innovate UK. So Innovate UK is part of UKRI, UK Research and Innovation, and we work with the government and provide over £7 billion of grant funding each year through various channels. So so Innovate UK is part of the business-facing side, and the other part of other parts of UKRIs are the councils, the research councils. So the scope of this competition. So this is funded by the ATI program. So naturally, the scope has to align with the strategy, with just Tommy mentioned earlier. And for this particular competition, the aim is to develop and encourage technological innovation within the civil aerospace sector, and we're looking for exploitation within the next 5 years. And your project must align to the strategy, which I will come on to a bit later. And also, we are looking to fund a portfolio of projects, so we want to fund a variety of projects. So that's different technologies, different market sectors, different maturities, and different research categories. So just a little bit on the ATI strategy. So there is 3 air transport priorities. One is about sustainability. The second one is about addressing the mobility challenge, and the third one is to raise the UK competitiveness. And I think, as Tommy touched on earlier, so 5 key areas: vehicles, propulsion and power, systems, structures, and enablers. And this is the airport transport vision. And so we look at more energy efficient aircraft, different ways of flight operations, more sustainable through life engineering, optimizing ground transport operation, more sustainable manufacturing, and alternatives to kerosene. And so going a bit further into the vehicle side, so this is the vehicle sector, or the vehicle segment of the strategy. Again, so I think Tommy covered this already. So what new for vehicle is, again, the sustainability, which especially for urban and regional markets. Second one on propulsion and power. So we have our Rolls-Royce as our main civil aerospace sector, but also, again, we're looking into the future, more hybrid and different propulsion system, electric power, or even fuel cell. Thirdly, on systems, and so looking at the different ways of different new generations of systems and equipment. and again, more on autonomous systems, efficiency and safety. Aerostructures, so these are the typical wings in the UK, but also, again, is looking into the future is more of the complex structures and different manufacturing processes and tools. And finally, on the cross-cutting enablers, looking into high-value design, and again, on different materials, new materials, manufacturing assembly processes, and different life engineering technologies. So these are the five scope areas that the program is looking for. So anything that is within those 5 key categories will be in scope, and ATI will be doing the scope check for this competition. And again, so if you do have an idea, do engage with them first. Make sure that your project, your application is in scope, so that doesn't waste your time during the application process. So next, I will hand over to Easy, which will describe a bit more on the eligibility criteria.
Okay, cool. So eligibility criteria for this competition. Just going to run through a few things. So we allow resubmissions on this one. So if you've applied before at Innovate UK in a different strand, you can use the same application again, should you wish to. So you must be, you must have a lead of a UK registered business. Your project must include at least one UK SME. The project must be collaborative. You've got to carry the work out in the UK and exploit the results from/in the UK, have a credible route to market. We ask that you identify your end users within the project and address the priorities within the strategy, as we've already mentioned. The project costs, we're looking between 250,000 to 1.5 million, and the project length between 12 to 36 months. So although the project cost is between 250 grand to 1.5 million, your project's total grant that you're asking for can only be between 125,000 to 750,000. So just bear in mind that if you have an academic partner, because they have a set cap they're allowed, your maximum grant funding may be lower than the 50%, as it's capped at 750 grand. So yeah, we ask that your project must start by the 1st of September in 2020 and end by the 31st September in 2023. And we would prefer the consortium leads to be carrying out the work and not solely working as a project manager. So the types of organisations that we fund include business, small, micro, medium, large. This is done by the EU definition. Research organisations, including universities, non-profits, RTOs, including catapults, public sector research establishments, and research council institutes. If you are 100% owned by a large parent company as a small subsidiary, this means that by EU rules, you are actually classed as a large company and will only be entitled to that relevant grant. So to be eligible for state aid, so Innovate UK is offering funding for this competition under the General Block Exemption Regulation, and this is available to eligible UK businesses. We are unable to grant funding to limited liability companies meeting the condition known as undertakings in difficulty. So this is where more than half companies subscribed share capital disappeared as a result of accumulated losses. Please bear in mind this test only applies to companies that are more than 3 years old, and that's actively working more than 3 years old. And if you have a parent company, the test can be performed on the parent or holding company. So when submitting an application, you must certify that you're eligible for state aid, and if you're unsure, please do take legal advice. And should you be successful, we'll apply this test as part of our viability checks before confirming the grant offer. So this competition is being run under State Aid Article 25, which gets split into 3 categories of feasibility studies, industrial research, and experimental development. And I'm going to whiz on straight past that one. And participation rules. So the aim of the state aid scheme is to optimise the level of funding to business and to recognise the importance of a research-based project. So all businesses can get up to 50% funding for their eligible project costs. Large businesses can only claim up to 30% of the total project funding. This maximum is to be shared between all businesses that classify themselves within that category. and at least 50% of the total grant funding must go to the SMEs in your consortium. The maximum level is 30% of project costs is to be shared by all the research organisations within the project. So a collaboration, here we look for projects that have at least 2 organisations that claim grant funding within the application, including the lead, and evidence of an effective collaboration. So we would expect to see the structure and rationale of collaboration described in the application. So if you have more than one application, so any one business can be involved up to 3 applications in this competition, but can only be the lead in one. And research and technology organisations cannot lead, but they can be a partner in any number of organisations. So just a thing to bear in mind, if you happen to have any other projects with us, if you have an outstanding final claim or an independent accountant report on a live project, you're not eligible to apply for grant funding as a lead or a partner organisation. So if you do have any, get those in as quick as you can, and then you will be eligible once more. And if you have applied for a previous competition as a lead or sole company and were awarded funding, but did not make substantial effort to exploit the award, then no more award funding can go to you. So some key dates to just bear in mind. It opened, obviously, the 25th of November. Briefing events today. So the deadline is the 15th of January next year, and we look to inform you all by the 21st of February. So just going to go into IFS. If you have used it before, do bear with me. So basically when you click to apply on a competition, you can be directed here. You can use a keyword to search the competition that you're interested in. Click on the competition, and then you get a tab view of everything, and basically you can just press start new application. If you have used IFS before, you can continue with the application, not the application, but the sign-in that you already have. Whereas if you are new to it, do just create a new account. UK-based businesses, so you can use Companies House to look up, as it speeds up our checks. If you're a research organisation, an academic or a university, we suggest that you enter your information manually so that you're not listed as anything other than a research organisation. This will just make sure that we can give you the correct amount of funding. So the project details section, we'll ask you about your application team, including any collaborators and contributors. The application details, such as the title, timescales, your research category, whether or not it's resubmission. Project summaries, a short summary and objectives of the project, including what's innovative about it. Public description, describe your project as you wish it to be seen as published. And scope, so how is it that you see your project is going to be in line with scope for this competition. Next is the application questions themselves, which I think Alfred wants to go through with you. But basically question 1 is your business opportunity, then we have market, results, benefits, technical approach, innovation, risks, team and facilities, costs, and added value to the UK. You'll notice that 4 of these have got an appendice that you can use. Do make sure as you go through, because some say can, some say must. But yes, going through the questions. I will let you do that.
Thank you. So how many of you have never used IFS before? Okay, so all of you have used IFS before. Great. Okay, so you should be familiar with the 10 questions process then. So in this competition, we are also using the same 10 question format, and so you should be familiarized with that. And bear in mind, this is a 2-stage competition. So this is a EOI phase. So in this round, we're looking for basically an overview of your project, your idea. And so all the questions have only 200 words of limit. So we're looking for quantity, not quality. So first one is about business opportunity. So what is the business opportunity of your project? So what are you addressing? Give us an idea of how you plan to take advantage of your project, and what are the current competitions, and what are you doing in terms of giving you the business opportunity. So in this one, you can submit a 1-page PDF to us, but it must be legible at 100% Zoom. So you can give us graphs or figures if you wanted to help explaining your project. Question 2 is about market. So which market segments are you planning going into? Is it structures? Is it propulsion? Or is it cross enablers? Again, give us given an idea of what you're trying to address, and also the specific products you are developing, and one thing we're looking for is returns on investment as well on this question. So question 3 is about results. So how are you going to exploit and disseminate your results? What is your route to market? So I think we mentioned previously we need you to come to us with a credible route to market. So do you have an end user already established, or have you got any existing business plan, your business model? So how are you going to disseminate your results? And bear in mind that we are looking for exploitation within 5 years for this particular competition. Next one is on benefits. So this question is quite long, but again we're looking for quality information, not quantity. So describe briefly on your project expenditure. So especially in terms of capital and infrastructure, do you have any capital investment in this in your application? About jobs, so are there any jobs being secured, or are there going to be jobs created as a result of your projects? And other impacts, so again we touched on sustainability. So is your project aiming to reduce carbon emission or lightweighting or any other things that improve on the sustainability area? Question 5 is about technical approach. So how are you going to manage your projects? What's your team structures? Give us an idea of work breakdown structures if possible. So that's the appendix in this question. And give us an idea of the shape and size of the project. So if it's 3 years long, then we obviously expect some sort of Gantt chart, and there's a logic to that Gantt chart, and how are you going to achieve your projects, and also explain how you're going to measure your success. Question 6 is about innovation. So this is typically about your technology. So what makes your technology stands out from other technologies or other competition? So what are you going to do? How innovative are you going to do? Is that new research enabled you to develop this, or is this especially if you are partnering with academic partners, then are you taking those sort of research into applying that into the business world? And also any IP that's coming out from the project, we want you to aware of the implication. And how you're going to exploit that, and if there's any restriction of IP. And we need to submit a table in this question. Explain again to us what is innovative about this project, and as you can see, is a change in technology or manufacturing readiness at the start of, and so basically tell us about the journey of your project. Question 7 is about risks. So as with these kind of innovative projects, there are risks. We recognize that. So have a think about your technical risk, your commercial risk, or your environmental risk. So just give us an idea of those, and how you're going to mitigate those risks if they materialize. We don't need war and peace. We just need some sort of ideas. Question 8 is about team and facilities. So what makes you, do you have the right skills to do this project? If not, then again, we've got KTN and ATI here to help you find the right partners. If you require certain skills, from certain sectors, or from certain different customers, so. If you are so again, do you have any track records, and also describe your collaboration? Why are you partnering with with your partners? So have you worked with each other before, or is it a brand new partnership? But because you see there's a potential in the area you're looking into, and what advantages does that give you? And question 9 is about costs. So this is, in this question, we only need you to provide a table. We don't need, again, we don't need to explain too much. Especially give us a table with the following headings, so the who, where, and the cost, and then the funding required. So this particular round, so academics are eligible for 100% grant funding. Research organizations are again eligible for 100% grant funding, but industry partners only 50% regardless of your size. So even if you're a small SME, you only allow 50%. So you might have a zero grant claiming partner. So if you have a large business as your end customer, but they don't want to put any funding in, then they can be included in this as well. And finally is added value. So what is the added value? So why do you need government funding for your project? Why can't you? If you don't receive funding, what will happen? And particularly, tell us about the impact of that. So that's it. So I'm going to hand over back to Izzy and talk to you about how do you submit your application. But bear in mind, most of you have already used IFS, so it should be quite easy.
Get it in early. That's our first thing that we say about submitting your application. IFS is not yet faultless. Occasionally we do have issues, and if the high traffic comes up to the midday deadline, if there's an issue, do let us know. We will do what we can to help you through. But if we see that you didn't try pressing submit until 11:59, there's a chance we just figured that you didn't really want the application after all. So into the assessment. All applications are assessed by independent assessors drawn from both industry and academia. They look for clear and concise answers, the right amount of information, quantification and justification, and a proposal that presents a viable opportunity for growth, a level of innovation that necessitates public sector investment, and has the right team and approach to be successful. Our little snippet of advice there is to keep the assessors engaged and interested within your proposal. So regarding feedback, the feedback is compiled using the written comments of the independent assessors who review and assess the applications. It is intended to be constructive in nature and highlight both the strong and the weak part of your application. Please bear in mind that because applications are assessed by a number of assessors, you may receive information which appears to be conflicting. And it must also be noted that some proposals may appear to have been favourably assessed based on their comments, and in such instances it could be that your proposal simply fell below the funding threshold, with others achieving a higher merit score overall. So regarding the scoring, we review the scores and feedback to check assessors are adhering to our guidelines and scoring fairly. In some cases, where we feel a score is unjust or not supported by the feedback, we may remove that score as an outlier and update the total score for the application. So this could go both up or down depending on which outlier is being removed. So the scope spread, this little screenshot of one of the things that we use. And the score here shows the difference between the top and the bottom scores regarding a spread of the assessors. So anything over 30 we look into. If there's a spread there, sorry, badly I've said. If there's a spread over 30, we will look into that to make sure there isn't an outlier. If we feel as if there is, we will remove it. Where it comes to the count of no scope or the count of no one recommended, if you get 3 or more on that, then we automatically disqualify your application. So more about the identifying of outliers. So the green box top is a particular assessor's score on an application. The purple box is a set of scores for a particular question. And the red box, at first glance, would look like an outlier. So here we go in, make sure that the assessors haven't got anything wrong, have completely understood, and aren't completely out of where the other assessors are coming from. If they are, we could remove that score, which would then increase the score, or vice versa, could lower a score. So the feedback. The lead of your application will be notified on IFS when the feedback's available. Then they can just go onto the IFS dashboard to view the feedback. And if you have any queries, do please get in touch with our customer service. Again, or KTN, or just Innovate. But I don't think there is any questions. Any questions? No, we're good. So yeah.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me a second, sorry. Can you just say we were broadcasting, so can you just say your name and affiliation just for the web listeners? Is that on?
Is it on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yes, Tom Hitchings. I'm sort of independent consultant. Question. Eligible costs. Question 1, can they be historical costs?
No, the
Money
costs
invested to get me where we are now.
No, the costs are only between the start and the end of the project. They're the only ones that are viable.
Okay. So the second sequel to that is, can eligible costs be capex, like buying an autoclave or buying a press or buying something that I'm going to end up owning?
Yes, they are completely allowed. You will then have to depreciate over the course of the project.
So the cost of buying the equipment is not eligible. So you can't.
It's not.
Isn't.
I thought you said.
So you can't. So say if you want to buy an autoclave for £1 million, you can't claim that, but you can claim the depreciation throughout the project. So if the start is £1 million, but the end of the project is £500,000, then you can claim the depreciation of £500,000 throughout the project. And then you have to demonstrate after the project what is your plan for that particular capital equipment. So if you're keeping it, then you have to then tell us why are you keeping it. And so most companies, they do have a depreciation policy. So we expect to see that follow the same depreciation policy if you have one already. If not, then we can advise. Again, so KTN and ATI would be able to help you because they have experience with other similar competitions, similar companies, or similar kind of equipment. But the buying, so the purchase cost is not eligible. It's the depreciation cost that is eligible.
Okay. Okay, and it's just a third one. Yeah.
Quickly, yes.
Quick one. You said that if a company is doing a project right now that is not finished, they can't apply for another project. You said if there are any outstanding claims on existing projects, you can't claim.
No, that's not what we meant. So any company who's doing being given a grant, they have to give us a report, so independent accountant reports, and so some of them, especially if they're coming to the end of the project, they don't submit their IAR, then we won't be able to. We're not going to award new grants to them because they haven't finished their obligation for the last project. You see what I mean? It's not. So they can have. So any company can have multiple projects with us, but if they haven't fulfilled their obligation to provide the independent accountant report, then we won't be able to allow award new funding.
That wasn't clear. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
So if anybody else has got any questions, please can you let us know now. Excuse me a second, I have to have my glasses on. We have a question from our live webinar audience. Kaylin's asked, you mentioned that it's a two-stage process. Could you just clarify that, please?
That's correct. So this is expression of interest, and the successful applicant will be notified sometime in February. Yeah, and then they will go into the second stage. Second stage will be the same 10 questions, but second stage will be the word limit will be longer, so help you to allow you to provide more details. Because as I mentioned, so this is only 200 words per question. So the next stage will be a lot longer. So we expect, is it 400? Tommy said we're going to 400. Yeah. So we're going to the next stage will be 400, but it will be the same 10 questions. So what typically we see people is to then expand on what they've given us and give us more details.
Perfect, thank you very much. And for those that are on the webinar, if you could type in any more questions as well, we'll just take a question from the audience. Thank you. If you say your name and affiliation.
Brian Norton, Indestructible Paint. We've still got an Innovate UK project that should have finished about now. We've just been granted a 3-month extension. Mm-hmm. So is that still Are we still able to
Yes,
bid?
yes. It's the outstanding IAR. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other questions at all who we have here? Speak now. Lovely. Thank you.
Hi, Gail Savage from Adaptix. It's a question about money. I understand for this, for all SMEs, it's 50%.
Correct.
The grant of the total project cost. Can you just expand on how that works? If we have a university, for example, as a partner,
Yep.
they're usually capped at 30%. And you mentioned something, a scenario where an SME might get less than 50%.
So, right. So it's a little bit complicated. So, what we are saying is the overall project, there's no overall project grant level cap at 50%. Okay. So all businesses are eligible for up to 50% of their costs. University are eligible for 100% of their funding. So if you have a SME and an academic partnering together, so your okay, so quite hard to explain. So because so that's okay. So it's a simple scenario. So simple scenario is so the cap limit for the overall funding is 1.5 million, and so if you have 2 industry partners, then you get 50%, which is 750,000. That's the cap limit. But if you have a academic and an industrial partner, because of the academics can receive up to 100% grant funding. So the overall project cost would be lower than 1.5 million. You can still claim up to 750 as a grant, but the cost of your project will be lower than 1.5 million. So you get a different grant funding at the project level, not for the individual. Yes, we'll explain a bit more. We'll attach a table just to.
Yeah, we'll just clarify
example.
that.
Yes.
We can send that out to everybody, can't
Yes.
we? So that's great. Thank you very much. We have a question here from Mike Edwards on the webinar. Does the route to market require the project to have an end user as a collaborator?
Not mandatory. It's not mandatory. So it's preferable to have an end user, but not mandatory.
And if they did want an
And
end user,
so Tommy can explain a bit.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So it's important to have a destination for your technology. You need to have a target market. You need to be working towards a certain part of industry. You don't have to. If you've got an end user who's partners on your project, that's fantastic. If you've got a letter of support, an intended use, that's great. At the EOI stage, it's less important to have that firmed up, but you do need to have a solid direction. You do need to be working towards that. Basically, the government's not going to fund anything if it's just going to sit on a shelf. They need to know it's going to be used and be paid for and secure jobs in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Any other questions from the room? What's your thinking? We have one other extra question from Olivia online. They're saying, is the competition open to startups pre-revenue?
Yes, but again, yes.
Okay, so you need to be a registered company, but as long as they're registered and they're pre-revenue, i.e. they haven't got accounts into the system, they're still eligible to apply. Yes, you are. Right, okay, thank you very much indeed. Hold on one second, let's... You're just getting me to walk around, aren't you? But any other questions from the floor? Whilst we're waiting, Caelan's asked the question: when will be the full application stage? Any estimated timeline? I'm thinking about when a successful project can start.
So the second stage we are expecting to open just, I think, in February time. And closing towards April time, and we're expecting then the assessment period will be over the summer period, and I think we've mentioned that we expect project to start in September.
So September 2020,
Yes.
the projects can start. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. That's answered that question. Any further questions from the audience here?
Yes,
Obviously,
ma'am.
we've got lunch and networking as well, but that'll be great.
Brian Norton again. We don't have a project in mind at the moment, but we've had the last 7 years with projects running with Reach. Should we register our company on the list in case anybody wants to partner with us?
You mean registered for the competition, or?
Yeah, I mean, you said you've got to register anyway. If we don't have a project in mind, we're an SME, we've got experience.
Yep.
Other people may want to ask us to invite us into their project.
Yeah, I think the best is to get in touch with KTN or ATI. ATI has a database of various different SME sectors, and again, please talk to them.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any further questions? I know if there's any other questions online, please let us know now, because we will start to close down the Q&A session, and this is your last opportunity to ask questions. Obviously, people here in the audience can still ask questions during the lunch break if needed. So any further questions, please do let us know now. And any other questions in the audience here, please let me know now. No, I think obviously very succinct and clear, and the online audience are happy as well. So thank you very much indeed, Alfred and Isobel. Thank you. Right, we're just going to run through the elevator pitch session now. We're running ahead of time, so we've got 4 elevator pitching people here, Gail, Henrik, Brian and Sarah. What I was going to ask is it okay if we carry on webinising and broadcasting your presentations? We were going to cut off at that point, but we think it might be useful for the people that are online to do that as well. So we'll carry on and do that. Perfect, thank you very much. Gail, you'll be first. Now, I run these things quite strictly, and I am very strict normally because we're running out of time and we want to be very careful with people and they don't overrun. I will run it strictly, but I'll give you a little bit of leeway. It's not a problem. I'm feeling nice today, so don't worry about it. But you have 2 minutes and only 2 minutes normally, and the whole idea is for them to be quick, dynamic and succinct. So if we could ask Gail to come up first, you'll be the first presentation. Did she? My goodness me, we scare them off, don't we? Really do. Well, I'll tell you what we do. Is Henrik here? So we'll do you first, Henrik, and then we'll come back to Gail if she's around. Is that one yours? So if you want to come up first, Henrik, and we'll run them in a slightly different order. I don't like scaring people off the stage. There we go. Thank you very much.
Is this a presenter? Is this a presenter? Yeah. Just right, and it goes on. I'm gonna try it. No.
If not, just press the right arrow.
Which one? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That doesn't count.
I haven't started your timer yet, so don't worry. I'm being lenient for you.
I just need 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead, yeah.
So I'm very delighted to be here. I was lecturing for 3 years in Germany, but it's my first time for a presentation in the UK. So what you see here is the latest technology in measuring equipment. That's the latest technology in measuring emissions. So it's called Portable Emissions Measurement System. What it does is, since the diesel case that happened in America, this equipment, actually these kind of tests needs to be done for every car that is now type approved. So it's for the certification purpose. So all new vehicles must undergo this test. So I'm working for Applied Emissions. So we are an independent test house. We are approved by the VCA for conducting these tests. So we can do this for the UK car manufacturers. Initially, our company was established for this purpose, to serve the UK car manufacturers. This is our approval. So we comply with the latest legislation when it comes to real driving emission tests. It's called European RDE Act 4. Why is that important? Because this is the most challenging test. It can be applied for anything else as well. These are my contact details, so feel free to contact me if you have questions to this. So you see on the left side the particle number, on the right side a gas analyzer. It's measuring second by second all emissions. What can be measured? It's the parameter CO, CO2, NOx, NO, NO2, particle number, and fuel consumption by carbon balance. Now, what can be tested? This might be interesting for you, and this is more a brainstorming than an answer from my side. We have installed this equipment recently on a diesel generator, so everything that has a combustion engine, everything that claims to reduce fuel consumption, reduce emissions can be tested. Air quality surveys can be done. It might surprise you, I've conducted an air quality survey recently in London, and the particle number in the ambient air was higher than the particle number in the tailpipe emission. So I'm open for any idea. If you have any ideas, what should be tested, what could be tested, let me know, and I will think about to design a test program for that. Retrofit kits and fuel additives.
30 seconds or so.
It's what we've tested very often recently. Real-world driving, it's not repeatable. For this kind of purpose, we design repeatable tests in our lab where we benchmark precisely one parameter and exclude stochastic factors. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Henrik. Perfect. Thank you. Normally, if people overrun, I threaten them with a big hug and a kiss, and it gets everybody off the stage very, very quickly. But so we're not going to do that today. Brian, are you here, Brian? Would you like to come up and have your couple of minutes? Is that your first slide, Brian? That's it. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
Okay, you've heard from me already. Indestructible paint. We've had several projects running over the last several years, mostly to do with reach and loss of chromes and chromates with Rolls-Royce, people like that. So we're actually an SME, but we have AS 9100, which in aerospace is essential for making paints and coatings. We develop and invent and make organic and inorganic finishes. So that means paints and coatings to you guys, which in aerospace, everything pretty nearly is coated one way or another. We have materials and techniques for aerospace applications, including composites and metallics. For example, aluminium, magnesium, ferrous. And we counter effect, or for want of a better word, aspects such as heat, corrosion, erosion, electrical resistance, conductivity, anti-static, lubricity, cosmetic, and ice, and FAA fire protection, so everything has to be fire protected, REACH and ROCE compliant, if you know everything that your things have to be made compliant to those, and replacing those products. So at the moment, a project we're just finishing is a chrome-free bond primer for composites and metals. And we make materials for manufacturing aids. So in other words, if you want to make something, we can sometimes make materials that help your manufacturing process. And we do OEM parts, so typically the aero engine, for example, but not just aero engine. We make OEM coatings for turbine blades and various parts in the engine. And we also do them for other parts, undercarriage parts, heat exchangers, and so forth. So that's the first part. Basically, I don't have a project. We've had several projects, but our drivers have been the primes, including Rolls-Royce, BAE, Bombardier. They're the primes that we've been dealing with. And they want, basically, almost all parts need painting or coating. People forget about it. So it's not often considered at the design stage. Sometimes it may be something simple, like you've got to change the colour. But even nowadays, you have to consider the volatile organic compounds, measurement of those for the paints that you're making. And you can perhaps add the coating as part of the design stage, e.g. in-mould coatings for composites, and new legally compliant, low VOC, REACH and Roche compliant materials?
About 30 seconds.
Sure. Okay. And the services we can offer, we basically discuss your project with you, and we assess any current surface engineering you may have and requires needed for it, and where it can be legal, and we can advise on current surface coatings that are available and ways that they could be improved, perhaps. And we have a fully qualified team of our own chemists and development capability. Okay.
Thank you very much, Brian. And Sarah. There we go from the catapult. It's just the one on the right.
Thank you. So, hi, I'm Sarah Connolly. I'm from Warwick Manufacturing Group. So we're based at the University of Warwick, but we're one of the high-value manufacturing catapults. I'm here representing both myself and Dr. Paul Lansdale, who is our material specialist in the SME team. So we look quite different, but I'm here representing both hats today. Myself, I'm a material specialist. I work within the steels development team. So WMG is a research organisation. I work within rapid alloy prototyping, so increasing the speed at which we can do alloy developments, both commercially and for research purposes. We have a large-scale materials production and manufacturing team based within Warwick Manufacturing Group, but also how I'm representing Paul, we have a dedicated SME services team. So we offer metallurgical expertise, so that can be in grade development, in processability, and in manufacturing of new materials. So high strength grades, lightweighting, and also we have expertise in the lighter alloys, not just steels. We run small-scale prototyping and production of new and adapted grades. We have an advanced characterization and testing suite to explore any changes. And we also have the dedicated SME support, so that can be in updating the processes that your business runs, in making new products, exploring new markets or business models, or just increasing the efficiency of the processes that you run at the moment. So that SME team supports and provides networks alongside the KTN and Innovate to support a range of local SMEs. So we predominantly work within the Midlands area, but we have a lot of schemes to introduce you to within that network. So depending on some eligibility criteria, we're able to do feasibility studies for new projects and allow us to work together. So I guess within this bid, we really heavily would fit within the aerostructures and cross-cutting enabler sectors.
Seconds or so.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Just in the development and the manufacturing of new materials. And we also have a lot of grant writing experience, so can help support any SMEs who are looking to join the project in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Go, would you like to do yours? We skipped you. So if you let me know which one's yours, is it? That's not you, is it?
It's this one.
That one there. There we go. It's the one on the right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Gail Savage from Adaptix Limited, and I'm here to talk about our technology, which is basically portable, low-dose, low-cost 3D imaging without using CT. Adaptix are based at Oxford University Science Park. We're a team of over 30 people there, and we're VC-backed. We've raised £8 million to date for our healthcare business. Here you can see a prototype of a device which takes detailed images, which, as you can see in the middle, it's a bearded dragon that we took at a local vet's, and you can see the 3D rendering and the level of detail we can get. On the right-hand side, how do I make it scroll? No, sorry, I need to go back. This is a moving image.
I think it was moving to start with.
Oh, right, it stopped. Okay, All right. So on the right-hand side, you can see that we've applied our technology from healthcare to electronic devices, and you can see the level of detail we can get, very high resolution, and we get slices like in a CT scan, and you can see all the electronic parts. So that's a bit of an overview of our technology, and what we want to do is to apply our technology, which has been very successful in the healthcare world, to non-destructive testing for both composite production and maintenance. We've got an enhanced capability to see faults, wrinkles, delamination and voids in composites, which we think will be very useful to the relevant persons here. Today we could give you a small desktop low-cost 3D imaging system, but tomorrow we'll be able to build a bespoke system capable of portable low-dose detailed scanning of large sections of a wing or, for example, a turbine blade. And we've done some exploratory work in this area already. We're here today to seek partners to work with us for grant applications and more generally from the aerospace primes, maintenance organisations and composite manufacturers. So hopefully that's a good introduction to our technology. My name's Gail Savage from Adaptix. Please do come and find me if you think we could work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gail. And I think that is through the rest of the slides. Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you very much to those that are on the webinar. Thank you very much for participating and joining in, and hopefully your questions that you asked have been answered. I have given you my email address as well, so if you do have any further questions, please email myself and I can then forward them to the team. But otherwise, thank you very much, and we're going to stop the webinar broadcast now. Thank you everybody else in the room.